I walked up to the counter with my folder in hand, the hush of polished shoes and murmurs around me echoing against the marble walls. Before I could even set my ID down, his voice cut through the room like a blade. "Step back," the bank manager snapped, his eyes scanning me up and down. "This counter is for VIP clients only." My fingers tightened around the folder. I forced my voice to stay level. "That's exactly why I'm here. My account is platinum tier." His smirk made my stomach twist. "Platinum? You?" He let out a hollow laugh. "Show me proof you're even a client. People like you are usually in the basic line." Gasps rippled nearby, quickly followed by silence. A woman behind me whispered, "Just ignore it." Another man muttered, "Don't make a scene." Their words stung more than his laughter. I placed my ID on the counter, slowly, deliberately. "You'll find my name in your system." He shoved the ID back without looking. "Don't waste my time. Security deals with this kind of nonsense." A cough came from someone in the back, but no one stepped forward. Eyes slid away, feet shuffled, throats cleared. The room turned into a chorus of complicity. My chest burned, not from shame, but from the familiar weight pressing down again. The weight of being doubted, stripped of dignity, in plain sight. His words cut again. "This is a respectable institution. If you people keep walking in here, soon anyone will think they belong at this counter." I inhaled slowly, my pulse pounding against my ribs. Every voice telling me to hold my tongue, to move aside, to protect their comfort. But I knew. If I walked away now, I'd lose more than my place in line. I looked him dead in the eye. That was the moment I realized. Your comfort ends where my dignity begins. The echo of his words still clung to the marble as I stood there gripping my folder tighter. I could hear the murmurs around me like gnats circling, low enough to sting, not loud enough to shield me. A voice slipped through the air, barely above a whisper. "Just let it go, man." "Not worth it." I turned my head slightly. The older gentleman behind me avoided my eyes, pretending to study the gold lettering on the wall. His lips trembled as if he wanted to say more, but fear locked him in silence. "Not worth it?" My voice cracked sharper than I intended. "Tell me, sir, when does it become worth it? After he calls the police? After he drags me out?" His hands shook as he adjusted his tie. "You don't understand. People here, they don't take kindly to—" He cut himself off, his throat catching. The sentence didn't need finishing. I knew exactly what he meant. A teller leaned over her counter 2 spots away, her voice low, urgent. "I'm so sorry. He shouldn't have spoken to you like that." Her eyes darted toward the manager and back. "But please, please don't push it. He has authority here." Her apology sliced me deeper than the insult. I clenched my jaw. "An apology whispered in secret doesn't mend the wound shouted in public." Her gaze dropped. "If I say anything louder, I could lose my job. And what if I lose more than a job?" My voice shook, but I didn't lower it. "What if I lose my dignity? My freedom?" Silence swelled like a storm cloud, heavy and suffocating. The older man muttered, "Don't cause trouble, son." "They'll just see you as angry." I locked my eyes on him. "Angry? You watch a man spit poison in my face and the lesson you've learned is how not to look angry?" My chest heaved. "Silence doesn't make you safe. It only makes you complicit." He flinched. The teller bit her lip. Behind me, I caught another whisper, someone saying, "Why is he making this harder?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I forced myself to breathe. My mother's words rang in my ears, fragments of a kitchen table lecture from years ago. "Don't shout when they expect you to shout. Speak when they expect you to bow. That's when your words strike deepest." I straightened. If his authority can silence an entire hall, then maybe it's not authority at all. Maybe it's fear wearing a badge, the teller whispered again, softer, trembling. "You're right. We're all afraid." I leaned closer, lowering my voice to her. "And fear is what keeps him powerful. But silence? That's what keeps him untouchable." The words hung between us, echoing louder than the manager's mockery had. I didn't move from the counter. Not yet. Every second I stood there was a refusal. And though the whispers pressed against me like waves, I let them break, one by one, against my resolve. I knew then that this wasn't just about me. This was about everyone who had whispered before me, everyone who had lowered their gaze, and if they wouldn't lift their voices, then mine would have to be enough. I turned back toward the counter, heart pounding, ready for what came next. I kept my voice steady, though my pulse thundered in my ears. "I want to speak to someone above you." "A higher manager?" The man at the counter smirked, leaning closer as if to taunt me. "Higher than me?" "I am the authority here." His tone cracked like a whip. "Security, get over here. We've got a fraudster at the VIP counter." The word stabbed deep. Fraudster. My hands trembled, not from fear but fury. I pressed the folder against the counter. "You'll find every document you need right here. My account details. My company registration. Do you want to see the Forbes list too?" He chuckled, loud and mocking. "Oh, so now you're a CEO. What's next, astronaut? King of England?" A murmur ran through the room. I caught fragments. "Is he serious? CEO? Impossible." "Just step aside, man." Each whisper felt like sand poured over a wound. I met his eyes. "Mock me all you want, but facts don't bend to your prejudice." His lips curled. "Facts? The only fact I see is a man trying to scam his way into a place he doesn't belong." A security guard stepped up, broad shoulders filling the space beside me. "Problem here?" His voice was flat, rehearsed. The manager snapped his fingers toward me. "Escort him out. He's wasting our time." I turned to the guard, keeping my tone even. "Before you lay a hand on me, check the system. My account is platinum priority. My company employs over 300 people. Every transaction I've ever made runs through this bank." The guard hesitated, shifting uneasily. "Sir, I just follow orders." I leaned forward, my voice low but sharp enough to slice. "Following orders has destroyed more lives than outright hate." "Look before you act." The guard's eyes flicked to the manager. The man barked, "Don't listen to him. Do your job." I spread my documents across the counter, bank statements, investment reports, my company seal shining in embossed ink. "This isn't a trick. This isn't fraud. This is me, flesh, blood, and dignity. The only lie here is the one he's spinning." The room shifted. Customers craned their necks. A woman whispered, "That looks real." Another muttered, "Why won't they check?" The manager slammed his palm against the counter, his face flushed. "Enough! Get him out before this circus drags on." My chest tightened, but I held my ground. "No, I won't move until my name is cleared in the same place you tried to stain it." The guard's hand hovered near my arm, but hesitation anchored him. Maybe we should verify." The manager's voice cracked, louder than before, desperate. "Don't you dare undermine me in front of these people." The tension was thick enough to choke on. Every breath tasted like iron. I lifted my chin. "If you're so certain, then prove me wrong." "Pull up my account. Right here. Right now. In front of everyone." The guard shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the screen behind the counter. The silence that followed was sharper than any insult. I could feel eyes burning into my back, fearful, curious, complicit. Some shuffled, some sighed, but none spoke up. The manager's jaw clenched. "This is my branch, my rules." I stared at him, unblinking. "And this is my life, my truth." "Try to erase it, and you'll only carve your own downfall." The guard lowered his hand, torn between loyalty and conscience. The crowd's whispers grew louder. No longer just background noise, but a tide rising against the walls. The breaking point wasn't just mine anymore. It was his. And I knew the next word would decide which one of us shattered. The manager's voice still echoed like venom. "This is my branch, my rules. Security, do your job." Before the guard could reach for me again, a faint voice slipped out from behind the counter. "Wait, his name is in the system." I turned. A younger employee, barely more than a trainee, kept her eyes fixed on the glowing screen. Her fingers trembled against the keyboard. She tried to lower her voice, but the words carried. "Platinum client. Flag priority." The manager snapped his head toward her. "What did you say?" His tone cracked like a whip. Her voice wavered, but she didn't stop. "It's right here." "His account. CEO of—" She cut herself short, glancing at me, then back to the screen. "Everything checks out." The room shifted. Customers leaned in closer, murmuring, "He's legit? This is bad. Why would the manager lie?" The manager slammed the counter with his fist. "Don't listen to her. She doesn't know what she's doing." I inhaled slowly, steadying my pulse. So the truth is incompetence now? Or is it inconvenient? His jaw tightened. You think waving a title makes you untouchable? I felt the weight of every gaze pressing into me. My throat burned, but I kept my voice calm, sharp. I don't need to wave anything. Your own system screams the truth. Platinum client. Flagged priority. And yet you humiliate me in front of everyone. The young employee whispered, "It's all here, sir. Transaction history, investments, company seal." Her voice broke, barely audible. He belongs at this counter. The manager's face flushed crimson. Shut it! He jabbed a finger toward her. One more word, and you're finished. She recoiled, her eyes glistening, but the damage was done. Whispers were no longer whispers. They were loud enough to sting him. Why's he threatening her? She's only telling the truth. Looks like he's trying to cover himself. I gripped the edge of the counter, the cold marble grounding me. My mother's voice surfaced again. When the cracks appear, don't shout. Let silence work against them. I locked my gaze on the manager. You tried to erase me with words, but words cut both ways. And now they're cutting you. The guard shifted uneasily. The teller from earlier peeked over, her face pale. He's right, the system shows it. I checked too. The crowd stirred. Murmurs grew louder, questions piling like stones. Why would he call him a fraud? Because of his skin, that's why. Unbelievable, the manager barked, his voice breaking. Enough, all of you, back to your business. But no one moved. The silence wasn't complicity anymore, it was defiance. I straightened, my chest rising. The cracks are showing, manager, and everyone here can see them. His lips pressed tight, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. You're making a scene. I leaned forward, my tone razor sharp. No, you made the scene. I'm just the mirror reflecting it back. The whispers swelled until they became a storm. He glanced around, sweat forming at his temples, and for the first time since stepping to that counter, I saw it. Fear. Not mine, his. I held his stare. This ends one way or another. Either you acknowledge the truth, or the truth breaks you. The words landed like stones in a pond, rippling across the marble hall. The authority he wore so proudly had begun to crumble, and everyone in the room could see it, and I knew with cold certainty that the collapse had already begun. The silence pressed against my chest like a weight. The whispers had turned sharp, accusatory, yet no one dared to raise their voice. I felt their eyes burning holes into my back, waiting to see if I would shrink, waiting to see if I would fold. I inhaled deeply, steadying the tremor in my ribs. My voice came out calm, measured, each word deliberate. You never saw me as a man. The words struck the hall like glass shattering. A few gasps slipped out. Someone coughed, another shuffled their feet. Still, I pressed on. You saw my skin as a warning sign. I spread the documents across the counter, my hands no longer trembling. But every dollar in this bank carries my signature. Every check I sign flows through your vaults. A murmur swept the crowd. Signature? He's serious. Is he really? I raised my chin. I came here today to deposit, not to defend my existence. I walked in as a client, but you treated me like a criminal. You humiliated me in front of your staff, your customers, and you expected me to bow. The manager's face paled. His lips opened, but no sound came. I leaned forward, lowering my tone until the marble seemed to carry it farther. I've built companies from nothing. I've employed people who feed their families because I refuse to give up. But when I stand here, all you see is color. And you call it fraud. The whispers thickened into waves. This is wrong. He's right, it's blatant. Why didn't anyone stop it sooner? I turned, addressing them, not him. Do you know what silence does? It makes a man small, smaller than the lie shouted at him. Every whisper behind my back carved deeper than his insults. You all saw it. You all heard it. And yet, I paused, my throat tightening. You let it happen. An uneasy stillness filled the room. Feet scraped, throats cleared, but no rebuttal came. I straightened my shoulders. But I am not small. I am not invisible. And I will not let my dignity be negotiated at this counter. A young man near the back muttered, almost to himself, he's right. Another customer clapped. Just once, hesitant, before silence swallowed him whole again. I slammed my palm gently but firmly against the marble. This counter isn't just glass and stone, it's a line drawn between who you think belongs and who you think doesn't. But lines can be redrawn. And today they are, the manager stammered, his voice cracking. You're exaggerating. This isn't about race. This is protocol. No, I cut him off, my voice sharp enough to slice. This is about the mask you wear to hide your prejudice. Protocol doesn't sneer. Protocol doesn't laugh in a man's face. Protocol doesn't call security before checking the truth. The guard shifted uncomfortably, lowering his gaze. Even the teller from earlier raised her eyes, her lips parting as if she wanted to speak but couldn't. I looked back at the manager, locking him in place with my stare. You wanted to expose me as a fraud. Instead, you exposed yourself as a coward. The crowd stirred again. Someone whispered, God! Another voice, stronger now, muttered, He's finished. I didn't stop. My voice rose not in anger but in unshakable conviction. I am not here for your approval. I am not here for your permission. I am here because my name is already etched into the books you're paid to guard. And no insult, no sneer, no attempt to erase me will change that. The silence that followed was different, heavier, but no longer suffocating me. It pressed down on him. The manager's hands trembled on the counter. His lips quivered, but nothing came out. He froze, pale, drowning in the weight of words he couldn't answer. And then, from somewhere in the back, the hesitant clap returned, louder this time. Another joined. Then another. The sound was awkward, fractured, but real. A few customers clapped nervously, their palms echoing against the cold marble walls. I didn't smile. I didn't bow. I stood still, chest heaving, my dignity intact. The applause wasn't for performance. It was for survival. It was for truth. And in that moment, as his silence stretched, I realized he wasn't the one freezing me out anymore. He was the one frozen. The echoes of my words still hung heavy in the air, but the silence didn't last. It cracked open, spilling into murmurs that rippled through the hall. He's the CEO of that tech firm, a man muttered under his breath, though not quietly enough. No way, another voice countered, half in disbelief. They treated him like some scammer. I caught fragments everywhere, each one slicing me differently. Platinum client, can you believe? Why'd the manager go after him like that? Because of his skin, that's why. The bank manager raised his hand like a drowning man gasping for air. Everyone calm down. I was just doing my job. His voice cracked, thin and defensive. A woman near the front snapped back. No, you weren't. Protocol doesn't look like that. The teller who had whispered to me earlier lowered her gaze, but her words came out firm. He humiliated a client in public. That isn't policy. That's prejudice. The manager's face tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do, she whispered, louder this time, emboldened by the crowd. We all do. The murmurs grew into a low rumble. He's ruined himself. This will hit the news by tonight. Imagine the board finding out. I stood still, breathing slow, feeling their words like waves pushing me forward. The manager muttered, almost pleading, I was protecting the bank. Anyone could walk in and claim to be, Enough! My voice thundered before I could hold it back. It rang off the marble, silencing every corner of the hall. You weren't protecting the bank. You were protecting your prejudice. You looked at me and saw threat, not truth. And you dragged everyone here into your lie. Gasps broke out. A man whispered harshly to his wife, This is going to go viral. The manager shook his head, sweat forming at his brow. You're twisting this. I stepped closer, my words slow, deliberate. No, I'm untwisting it. You built this knot with mockery and silence. I'm just pulling the thread. The guard shifted awkwardly, his eyes on the floor. A young customer muttered, God, he's right. And then, like sparks catching dry wood, the murmurs burst louder. Did you record it? Yeah, I got everything on my phone. This will blow up fast. The manager's voice trembled, desperate now. Delete those recordings. You can't. Why should we? A customer snapped. The world deserves to see what happened. I clenched my jaw. heat rising to my face. This wasn't just my humiliation anymore. It had become a mirror for everyone watching. "You tried to erase me with your voice," I said quietly, but the stillness carried my words everywhere. "But now their voices are turning on you." The manager's lips quivered. I was just— "No," I cut him off. "You weren't just anything. You were wrong. And now the whole room knows it." The teller lifted her head, her voice trembling but strong. "And the whole city will too." A nervous laugh escaped someone in the crowd. "He's finished. Absolutely finished." The weight of their judgment pressed into him like a verdict already passed. His shoulders sagged, his bluster drained. I stood in the middle of it all, chest heavy but unbowed. This wasn't victory yet, but it was the beginning of his collapse, and as I looked at him shaking in the flood of whispers, I knew the fallout had only just begun. The boardroom felt like a cage dressed in glass. My reflection stared back at me from the polished table, and for a moment I saw every insult etched across my skin. The hum of the air conditioner was drowned out by voices rising and colliding. The chairman cleared his throat. "We're here to address the incident that took place in our central branch. All parties will be heard." The manager leaned forward instantly, his words spilling fast. "I was enforcing protocol. Anyone can claim to be a VIP. I acted in the bank's best interest." I clenched my fists beneath the table, forcing my voice into calm steel. "You didn't act for the bank. You acted for yourself. You didn't see a client. You saw a threat," he snapped back. "That's a dangerous accusation." I met his eyes. "Not as dangerous as what you did. You stripped me of dignity in front of dozens, and you did it without proof." One of the executives muttered, "We have recordings." The lawyer at the corner tapped his folder. "Multiple customers submitted footage. It shows you mocking, calling security before verifying, ignoring system flags." The manager's face twitched. "Out of context—" "No!" I cut in sharply, my voice trembling with restrained fury. "There is no context where sneering people like you becomes protocol." Gasps circled the table. The silence afterward burned hotter than his insult. The chairman's voice lowered, heavy. "Did you use those words?" He hesitated, his lips pressing thin. "I may have." My chest tightened, but I refused to shout. I spoke with a quiet fire. "You didn't just humiliate me. You told every black man and woman who walks through those doors that their money, their achievements, their humanity mean nothing here." A younger board member shifted uncomfortably. "This damages our reputation." I turned to her. "This damages more than reputation. It damages trust. Do you know what it feels like to build a company from the ground up, to feed families through jobs you create, and then be treated like a thief in the very bank holding your money?" Her eyes dropped, shame flickering across her face. The manager's voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to go that far." "You meant every word when you spat them," I snapped, my throat raw. "You meant it when you laughed at me. You meant it when you called me a fraud in front of strangers," the lawyer murmured. "Intent won't matter in the court of public opinion." The manager turned desperate, his voice shaking. I slammed my palm on the table, the sound sharp as thunder. "You were just exposed." "That's what you were." Gasps rose again. The chairman leaned back, his face grave. "This is bigger than one man. It's about whether we allow prejudice to walk around with a badge of authority in our name." I steadied my breathing, my voice softer but heavier than before. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for truth. And the truth is, if this bank doesn't change, the stain will spread until no client trusts you again." The lawyer nodded. "Public pressure is already mounting. Media outlets have called for statements. Social media is flooded." The manager slumped, muttering, "I never thought it would get this far." I leaned forward, my words deliberate, final. "That's because you never thought I was human enough for your actions to matter. But today, your silence, your mockery, your arrogance, it all matters, and it will define you." The room fell silent, the weight of my words pressing on every shoulder. For the first time, the manager's eyes lowered, his arrogance crumbling into something that looked like fear, and I knew the reckoning had begun. The boardroom air turned dense, heavy with truth no one could escape. My words still echoed, but now all eyes were on him. The man who had spat his arrogance across the marble counter was shrinking in his chair, his voice trembling as he tried to gather it back. I didn't mean—" His words slipped out, cracked and broken. I leaned forward, my palms pressed flat against the table. You meant it when you mocked me. You meant it when you laughed. Don't choke now that the mirror shows you the face you tried to hide. His throat bobbed. I was under pressure. Pressure doesn't create prejudice, I snapped, my voice steady but cutting. It reveals it. The lawyer shifted, his voice low but sharp. Multiple testimonies contradict your version. Customers, staff, recordings. There's no room for denial. The manager's hand shook. He clutched the edge of his chair. I was doing my duty. A woman across the table muttered, No, you were abusing it. The teller from that day finally lifted her head, her voice trembling. I watched him humiliate a client. I watched him ignore the system. I heard him call security before checking the facts. That wasn't duty, it was bias. The manager's eyes widened, pleading. You don't understand the position I was in. I cut him off. No, you don't understand the position you put me in. Standing at your counter, treated like filth in front of strangers, my dignity torn apart while everyone watched. That's the position you forced me into. Gasps circled the table. A young executive murmured, This is indefensible. The manager's voice cracked again. I regret it, all right? I regret how it played out. I stared into his eyes, unflinching. You don't regret what you did. You regret being caught. The silence that followed landed heavier than stone. Witnesses spoke up, one by one. A customer muttered, I was there. He mocked him. It was disgusting. Another added, He tried to stop us from recording. That's all you need to know. The board chairman rubbed his temples. This institution cannot carry men who carry prejudice like currency. Effective immediately. You are suspended pending further review. The manager's face collapsed. His mouth opened, closed, but no sound emerged. He slumped into his chair like a gatekeeper stripped of his key. I stood, my voice calm, deliberate. The fire cooled into steel. Dignity isn't negotiable, not mine. Not anyone's. The weight of the room pressed into him, not me. His collapse was complete, and I walked out knowing the walls that once silenced me had finally turned against him. The glass doors of the boardroom closed behind me, but the weight didn't lift. My hands still shook faintly, though I forced them into my pockets before anyone could notice. The hallway buzzed with whispers, half sympathy, half awe. I kept walking, each step slow, deliberate, as though I were dragging every insult behind me. Outside, the air hit me sharp and cool. I was almost at the street when a voice caught me. You spoke for all of us. I turned. A stranger, middle-aged, his eyes glassy. His suit looked tired, but his face carried a quiet strength. I don't even know you, I muttered, my throat thick. You didn't have to, he replied softly. Every word you said, it was the truth we swallow every day. He hesitated, glancing away. And the silence we choke on. The truth of his words stung more than the memory of the counter. Then why didn't anyone speak sooner? My voice cracked. Why was I left standing alone? His shoulders sagged. Fear. That's what kept me quiet. Fear of losing a job, fear of being branded a troublemaker. But when you refused to bow, you broke something in me too. You reminded me that silence is also a choice. Before I could answer, another voice, this one younger, broke in. Sir? A boy, maybe early 20s, clutching a worn backpack. His skin the same shade as mine, but his eyes brighter, unscarred. I watched the whole thing, he murmured, shifting nervously. I recorded it. It's already spreading online. He bit his lip, his voice trembling. You don't know what that meant to me. I want to be someone one day, and I've always wondered if people like me are even allowed to dream that big. His words sliced through me. My chest tightened, heat rising in my eyes. Don't ever wait for permission, I whispered hoarsely. Dream louder than their prejudice. Build bigger than their walls. And when they tell you you don't belong, stand where you are and make them move. He swallowed hard, nodding, his fists clenched at his sides. I will, because you showed me how. The older man touched my shoulder gently. You walked out with dignity. And that's more than victory. Its survival turned into power. I exhaled slowly, the storm inside me softening at last. The crowd behind us still whispered, but their voices no longer weighed me down. They had become something else, witnesses to a line that had been crossed and redrawn. I looked at the boy, at the man, at the reflection of myself in their eyes. And I knew. My dignity isn't just mine anymore, I murmured. It belongs to everyone who thought silence was their only weapon. Today, silence lost. The boy smiled faintly. The man's grip tightened on my shoulder, and for the first time since that counter, I felt the quiet not as betrayal, but as victory. I sat alone in my office, the city lights flickering through the glass like 1,000 silent eyes. The hum of traffic below faded into something distant, almost ghostly. My reflection in the window stared back at me, a man who had walked into a bank for a transaction and walked out carrying something heavier, truth laid bare. Dignity reclaimed, I whispered to myself, the words trembling. It should never have taken this long. The silence in the room answered me, but it wasn't the silence that had betrayed me at the counter. This silence felt earned, settled, like the stillness after a storm. I heard echoes, the manager's sneer, the scattered gasps, the shifting feet of those who stayed quiet when I was mocked. And then sharper still the voices that came after. You spoke for all of us. I want to dream louder now. Those words lingered, cutting deeper than any insult, because they reminded me that my fight had not been mine alone. I clenched my fists, feeling again the heat that had burned in me at that counter. His words, fraudster, show me proof, still crawled under my skin. But then I remembered how the room froze when my own words cut through. You never saw me as a man. That moment replayed in me not as anger now, but as release. I murmured into the empty air. Their silence, it taught me something. My chest tightened. It taught me that comfort protects the oppressor more than it protects the victim. I leaned back, exhaling, letting the weight settle. But that comfort ended. The memory of the student's eyes came back, the trembling hope in his voice, the way he clutched his backpack like a shield. He hadn't asked me for money, for mentorship, for power. He'd asked me for possibility. And I had given him words, nothing more, yet everything. I closed my eyes and whispered, that's why I endured it. Not for them, but for him, for every one of us watching ourselves through his reflection. A pause. Then the truth came, quiet but unshakable. Their comfort ended the day my dignity began. And for the first time in years, the silence around me didn't feel like complicity. It felt like peace.